You know, ever since I was a boy, I sort of like didn't understand this notion that love and hate are each other's opposite. Because from my experience, love and hate are not each other's opposite. The opposite of love is the same thing that is the opposite of hate, and that is indifference. Yeah, because what is love? What is hate? Well, both of them are strong emotions. In one case, you know, you love something, that is, you like it very much. And the other case, you hate it. You don't like it at all, and you want it gone, disappeared. But they are both strong emotions. They are powerful emotions, and sometimes out of love or out of hatred, you will do all kinds of things that you never expected to do. Some things that are very moral, very noble, very amazing, and some other things that might be low and despicable. Because, you know, you hate something so much that you might think to yourself, well, yeah, I'm going to do this low, awful thing because this thing that I hate is so bad, but, you know, it's really not, you know. It'll make you do things that you'd never believe. Because that's what strong emotion does. It pushes us. It's the fuel for the engine, right? But indifference, what is indifference? It's a lack of emotion, you know? You're indifferent to something, whatsoever that may be. You know, you feel nothing for it, you know? You see, you know, I don't know, like these old glasses here. You know, they're perfectly fine, but I'm indifferent. You know, I have other glasses, better glasses. These are old glasses that they don't fulfill my prescription anymore. You know, I just have them around. I'm indifferent. If it disappears, I don't care. If it suddenly, you know, becomes two glasses, I'd be surprised, you know, spontaneous osmosis or spontaneous, what is it, the amoeba splitting. But you know what I'm talking about. That would be pretty cool, but, you know, I don't care. But when you care for something in a positive way or you care about something in a negative way, love or hatred, that's the opposite of indifference. Yeah? Hatred and love, they are kissing cousins. They are each other's best friends. You'd be surprised how many times you will find in life that you hate somebody for whatever reason, but you get to know them a little bit better, and you find out they are so similar to you. And a lot of times what you're hating is that you see yourself in them, and you don't like that for whatever reason. And a lot of times you will find that the person that you hate that guy, and you get to know him a little bit more and realize how much you have in common and realize how truly similar you are, and all of a sudden you'll become best friends. Yeah, and in time you might wind up loving one another fraternally, of course, you know. But it happens all the time. And the flip side too. Sometimes you love somebody desperately, a woman, a best friend, and they betray you or act in a way that you find unacceptable, and you hate them. All the good things that you felt towards them become just hatred and resentment and anger, and you want nothing to do with them. And you want their misery, in point of fact. Yeah, that happens all the time. Look at divorce courts. Divorce courts are filled with people who at one time loved one another. I mean, in every marriage, there was a time when they loved one another. They wouldn't have gotten married otherwise. And yet there they are, the divorce courts, screaming at one another with raw, unfiltered hatred towards one another. That happens all the time. I would venture to argue that it is easier to go from love to hate than from hate to love. I would venture to guess that it is easier to fall in love with somebody, love them romantically or fraternally in any case, and have that emotion twist into hatred once one or the other does something to screw over the person, to take advantage of that love. Whereas, you know, the idea of two people who hate one another becoming friends or lovers or something like that, I think that that's far rarer. But I actually think that that second possibility, when two people despise one another but get to know one another and wind up loving one another, you know, romantically or fraternally, okay? I think that that is actually the best bond, the strongest bond, because the two people who once hated one another and grew to love one another, they actually came to that conclusion because they actually see who the other really is. Yeah, that's an actually interesting point, but it's not something I want to discuss in this video. I'm much more interested in the issue of what to do when you hate someone, or what to do when you love someone and they no longer love you, and so you're left with this love, this desire to give them love and nowhere to go. That's something that I'm much more interested in. And it's something that you should think about. Let's start with the first case, hate. Suppose you hate somebody for whatever reason, justified or not, okay? You hate them. But you see, hatred is going to eat you up. That's the thing about it. Hating somebody, no matter how justified the hatred, it only eats you up. It only eats you up because it brings out the worst in you. Yeah? You hate somebody because of whatever reason. They're a racist. Oh yeah, they're a racist. And so I hate them. Yeah, but yeah, racism, bad. Of course, I'm not going to doubt that. But the fact of the matter is, see, if you hate racism and you allow that emotion, that negative emotion, to arise, it will give you the warrant to go out and do horrible things. Because after all, you hate them because they're racist, right? This is what's happening on the left. They think that because somebody they consider a racist, or just they don't agree with them, that's really what's going on, but they call them racist, right? And racist, you can do whatever you want to racist. And so it allows them, it gives them the warrant, the permission to let flower the most base impulses, the most awful actions done in the name of hating something bad. That's why hatred is so awful, because it lets loose our worst impulses. It gives us permission to do the most horrible things, things far worse than anything that the object of our hatred might have done. We become monsters because of our hatred. And so what you want to do is eliminate hatred, turn it into indifference. That's the most important thing. Because hatred in your heart will only twist you around, will only make you act in ways that will dwarf whatever wrong the object of your hatred is doing. You will become the monster. And so if you feel hatred, if you feel resentment in your heart, what you have to do, you have to, the thing that you most want to do, that you have to just put all of your energy in, is to turn that hatred into indifference. There is somebody that you hate for whatever reason, justified or not, and what you want to do is turn that hatred in your heart, that resentment in your heart, into indifference for that object. To be completely indifferent, to ignore them. Because if you don't, you are the one who will suffer. And insofar as the case of love is concerned, unrequited love. That's of course what I'm talking about. You love someone, but they don't love you. They don't care about you one way or the other, perhaps. Or perhaps they have like a generalized good feeling, but they don't love you the way that you do. Again, you have to turn that love into indifference. You have to learn to ignore that object that you love, that you adore, but who does not love you and who will never love you. And that is actually hard, because see, when we love someone, we naturally try to do the best. We naturally try to bring out the best qualities in ourselves, to show this person whom we love, look at who I am. I'm this good person, this good soul. I have all these good qualities, and I'm striving even harder to make good qualities for you, for your love. You know, the knights during the Middle Ages, right, when they had these, when they adored some woman, that was part of the reason for this whole cult of the knightly virtues. It was so that it would control these warriors, and these warriors would not get out of hand and do crazy ass stuff. They were taught to adore some woman and taught to show this woman that they adored their best qualities, precisely so as to control who they were and not allow their most awful qualities to emerge in places where it was not warranted. You see what I mean? Yeah. So when you love someone, of course, you want to show the best qualities. And that, of course, is a wonderful thing. But loving someone who does not care for you, it eats at your soul. Because, you know, you are going to strive for somebody and they don't care for you. And that will destroy you ultimately. The same way that hate can destroy you. Every strong emotion can ultimately destroy you. That's the whole point of Zen Buddhism, for crying out loud. And that's why Buddhism is such a powerful and popular religion, because it teaches you that strong emotions can ultimately destroy you. And love is no different. Love can make you do awful things. It can bring out the best in you, but also the worst in you. And so you have to deliberately realize when the object of your love does not care for you, You have to turn the dial on that love and turn it into indifference. The first thing to do in that case, and I'm not belittling this case, it's actually very serious, I think. In the case where you love someone and that love is unrequited, the smart thing, the first step, is to just ignore them. Get rid of every reminder of that person and try to forget them. And whenever the memory of that person arises in your mind, in your imagination, try to distract yourself, try to kill that memory. Because the fact of the matter is that if you dwell on someone who loves you, whom does not love you in return, it will only hurt you, and it will turn your heart bitter. And you will not be able to love somebody else, somebody who will love you in return. If you idolize or fantasize about some object of your affection that does not care for you, or cares for you in the most generalized and innocuous sense, it's going to eat you alive. And so you have to turn that love into indifference. And you have to make your heart stony to that person. Not out of meanness or spite, but as a means of self-preservation. Because if you do not do this, that love will kill you. Because love can kill. Oh yeah. Unrequited love can kill you. You become obsessed with some woman and you never see the possibility of love in any other situation. There's a famous example of this. Dante Alighieri, the great poet. Now, he was in love with this 16-year-old girl. He met her when he was 16 or 17 or something like that. And she died. She died when she was 16. She was a child. But this idealized image of Beatrice stayed in Dante's imagination his entire life. And he never found love with a woman. I forget if he married or not, but he didn't really care for them. In his imagination, it was always Beatrice. Beatrice was this perfect star. And of course, he could never achieve her because she was dead. Okay, she died when she was a child. She didn't even know him. Yeah? And he didn't know her. He just fantasized about her. And he poured all of his love towards not a woman, a girl, a child, whom he did not know. He never spoke to her. It was all in his head. And you can say that, oh, well, he wrote the Divine Comedy, the greatest poetry in Western civilization, for crying out loud. Yes, he did. Fantastic. Good on him. And perhaps if he had not had this horrifying illusion, he never would have written the Divine Comedy. Perhaps, it's better for our civilization that, that he did fantasize about this girl, this unrequited love that dominated his life and his imagination, that dominated his heart and prevented him from loving anyone else. Perhaps we would have been better off. We would have been worse off, rather, if this had not happened. Yeah, but okay, fine. Yeah, we would have been worse off, probably, as a society. Yeah, because it's a great work of art, and it's a touchstone of our civilization. But the fact of the matter is that, this is 1 in a million, for crying out loud. Dante Alighieri's, there aren't many around. Very few. But there are many men, a great deal of men, who fantasize about some unachievable woman. And they dream about this love for this unachievable woman. Maybe she's a girl on Instagram. Maybe she's some saint from the past. Maybe she's the girl next door that you never have the nerve to speak to. It doesn't matter who it is. There are so many men who throw their lives away, throw away their hearts, because they care about someone who does not know they exist. That's the value of indifference. Indifference can save you from such a horrifying fate. Yeah. Because, like I said at the beginning of this video, the opposite of love is indifference, and the opposite of hatred is indifference. Indifference is a powerful quality. It's something that you should cultivate. Learn to make things indifferent. It's important to choose the things that you love. It's important to choose the things that you hate. Because a lot of times, what you hate can often define you in positive ways. I'm not denying that. But just as you carefully choose that which you love and carefully choose that which you hate, you must choose indifference. Learn to choose indifference. Learn to ignore things. to ignore that which does not matter. Learn to ignore things that, if you don't ignore them, they will hurt you, either by turning your heart full of hatred or turning your heart into a bitter and lonely thing. You see? And you can choose that which you love, and you can choose that which you hate. You are not passive. You are not simply a vehicle for your emotions to run riot in your heart. No. You can decide. So decide wisely. Decide like a grown-up. Decide like a man.